So this was the Bureau of Land Management takes an interest in protecting our public lands and our cultural resources, as well as our recreators that use those lands. We want to keep them safe and ensure that they continue to, enjoy our public lands as they were designed to be enjoyed. And one of those crimes that we take an interest in is arson or wildland fire on our public lands, especially within what we call the urban interface. And those are our public lands that are very, very close to our residences and our cities, which Shasta County and particularly Redding have quite a bit of. So in May of 2022, we had a fire near the Middle Creek Trail System, which is a BLM maintained recreation trail just west of Redding here. And it's a paved trail. It's very well used, very nice trail. The fire started in the evening hours and it burned approximately 2 acres. That's about the size of a football field and a half. And there were some houses in the immediate area. Luckily, we didn't lose any of those resources, and the fire was able to be contained due to CAL FIRE's quick response to the fire. During the investigation, it was determined that the cause of the fire was incendiary or arson, and that determination is based on a number of cause categories which are responsible for starting wildland fires. And what an investigator does is they either include or exclude those categories, and the only one left in this particular case was incendiary, meaning the fire was set intentionally, also called arson. There were some items that we were able to recover at the scene. CAL FIRE did an excellent job of collecting those and preserving them. They were later turned over to me, and I submitted them for laboratory testing at our local crime lab here in Redding. And ultimately, I was able to develop a suspect based on a DNA hit. Now, a DNA hit is not a confirmation of DNA, but it's an investigative lead is what we consider it. Based on that, I started an investigation to locate this person, which lasted almost 2 years. It spanned the country as this person traveled around quite a bit. And it's very interesting because BLM Special Agents, there aren't many of us in the nation. There's only about 50 of us in the nation. So we really have to rely heavily on our relationships with our locals, our cooperating law enforcement agencies, and we reached out to many of them, including the Orange County Sheriff's Department in Orlando, Florida, the Myrtle Beach Police Department, especially Captain Jeremiah Beam there was outstanding in helping us. Long story short, I was able to locate this person. Mr. Franklin Short, as stated in the affidavit, in a little town in South Carolina. In order to confirm the DNA that we had recovered from the items at the fire scene, I authored a search warrant in the District of South Carolina, and I was able to execute that search warrant with Mr. Short, who was in custody at the time at the J.R. Long Correctional Facility on an unrelated crime. During that time with Mr. Short, he agreed to speak with me, and he was cooperative in that interview. At this time, I can't go into detail with what was said in that interview. I will say that this case was assisted, our investigation was assisted with the U.S. Attorney, U.S. Attorney's Office of the Eastern District of California, and I have asked the Eastern District of California to review this case for pending federal prosecution.
What went into the finding the DNA? Like, what did you find the DNA on?
So there were particular items left at the scene, including a can of Axe body spray, a serrated steak knife, and a small scrap of paper with a handwritten phone number on that piece of paper.
And how do you think the fire was started? Do we have any leads on that?
So, kind of as I stated earlier, the cause of the fire was determined to be arson.
But I mean, an actual way of starting physical way. Sorry.
And that's kind of part of the details of the investigation I can't release at this time.
Okay. Do we have a permanent address on this Franklin Short right now, or is he still at risk of fleeing this? I mean, essentially fleeing.
At this time, we are aware of Mr. Short's whereabouts.
Sorry, one more time. I went into your face.
At this time, we are aware of Mr. Short's whereabouts.
Okay. And is there any other lead or possible leads if it isn't him, or are we still just is he the prime suspect at this point?
I will say that we're very confident in our investigation and the leads that we have developed, and I will stand behind those investigative leads, which I previously discussed.
Do we expect the Eastern DA's office to respond anytime soon?
I don't have a time frame on their response right now. Like I said, I did ask that they review this investigation, and I am hoping for a positive result with a federal prosecution. But right now, I just know that it's pending review.
Okay, and tell me how does one get involved with BLM? How does one become an agent here? You're all, you walk me through the process.
Well, it's the federal government's hiring system. Sometimes can be difficult at times. So in order to become a special agent with BLM, you have to either have some type of law enforcement background already, or you have to be a permanent federal employee in kind of within the agency already to even be considered. So in my particular instance, I was a wildland firefighter first. So I was a permanent federal employee, and I wanted to assist in protecting my local public lands. They mean quite a bit to me, and I know they mean a lot to our Northstate residents as we use them all the time, and I really enjoy keeping those safe so that we all can continue to enjoy them. And so I wanted to move into a law enforcement field, at which time I applied and I went over to the U.S. Forest Service as a law enforcement officer, and then eventually worked to become a special agent here with the Bureau of Land Management.
And you as a special agent, what are your direct responsibilities?
So my direct responsibilities in our mission is to support the multi-use mission of the Bureau of Land Management, which is the protection of our cultural and natural resources and the sustainability of those public lands, and to ensure their use for our future generations. And my job in that aspect is to enforce the applicable criminal regulations that keep those items safe, as well as the people. That's another. It's commonly kind of forgotten, but it's also our job to keep the people safe that use our public lands, and we want them to know that we will be out there and we will do our best and our due diligence to keep them safe so that they can keep using those lands.